Hi guys, I'm Ryan Houston and welcome to my fly tying channel. This channel contains hundreds of different videos covering all manner of different patterns, techniques and styles of fly tying. There's something here to suit almost everybody, so hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, let's get on with the show. Hi guys, so we're going to tie a fly called the Copper Quill. So this is a nymph pattern. I suppose it's something along the lines of a copper john. Maybe not just as complicated to tie. And this is a pattern from a guy called Scott Sanchez. So it has some slightly unusual methods of putting a bead in the center. So what we'll do is take this hook. Now I'm using a standard wet fly hook for this. I wouldn't go down the route of a short shank with this. I don't think it would look right, so I think either a standard type wet fly hook, this one happens to be a Kamazan B175, or you could possibly use like a nymph hook or something with a slightly longer body. I wouldn't go to a very extended lure type hook, but certainly, or streamer hook, but I think certainly a standard or very slightly longer shank one would do. So we're putting the bead on first, but then we're going to leave it at the back here while we tie in the front hackle. So I'm using a black thread here, and I'm only going to tie on this very first little bit here. And we're going to put the hackle in. It's like a fake hackle, and what we're using for this is guinea fowl or guinea hen, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to take one side of the feather and pull the fibers up so that they are sitting, it aligns the tips as such, and then rip that off. Grab the bases and then transfer until the fibers are pointing forwards. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tie those on. And we're going to tie them on to be about 2/3 maybe of the shank length here. And then tie this back, come back forward, and then we'll want to trim this off nice and tight. And hopefully the bead will slide up over that. Okay, so then what we want to do is take the thread across the bead and start to tie backwards. So that kind of holds the bead in place there. We'll come back here to the bend of our hook, and then we're going to use the guinea fowl again to create a tail. So strip off a little bunch of fibers. Again, I'm sort of trying to line the tips up a little bit, and then I'm going to place them on as my tail. So tail length is up to yourself, but I would say anything from half a shank to a shank length is probably alright. I think beyond that it starts to get a little bit out of proportion, shall we say. So next what we're going to do is tie in a thorax material. So I'm going to use one of these sort of scud back type materials. This one happens to be a tan, although you could use any sort of black plastic or builder's tape or something like that if needs be. So this stuff can be stretched as it goes across beads, etc. If it's too thick you can always thin it down, or too wide, shall we say, not too thick. So I'm just going to thin that down a bit. Cut it down to about 2/3 thickness there. And then I'm going to tie that in behind the bead. Now I'm leaving a mil or so in the back of the bead here as well, because I'm going to put a little bit of dubbing in there. So once that's on, I'm just going to tie across it to hold it in place, and then we're going to add the body. So the body is 2 different colors of wire, and I suppose color is up to yourself here. So I have a copper here, and I have a hot orange, although I think it would look as well with olive or something like that, or black in there, just some sort of contrast between the two. So I'll take the 2 strands, I'm going to match their tips up And then I'm going to tie those in just at the back of back of where I tied in that stretchy material. So the length of the body. The reason for tying in the length of the body is that we want to have an even, smooth body, and if we tied them in just at the back here, then we would have a step wherever they ended. So we'll do that, and then tie and thread back up here, and then we're going to wrap the two of these side by side, hopefully. Come to the front here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the wire tight underneath and then take it forward a little bit at an angle. I'm going to pull this stretchy material back and tie over it, and here we're getting several wraps then across that wire. Just using my nail just to force it down. So you can now see it's tied in here at the back of the bead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the two wires out, and then I'm going to keep my thread out of the road, and I'm just going to helicopter them off. You'll not get as close in if you try to use your scissors, and you'll blunt your scissors. So it's time to put on then a little bit of dubbing at the back of the bead. So some sort of tan or amber or something along the lines of that. I'm actually going to use a little bit of rabbit for it because I think it'll do the job. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that and wax my thread, and then I'm just going to dub that onto my thread and create a little dubbiny ball there. Once I've got enough on, I can just pull off the remainder. Now I don't want to get tight up into the bead because I want room for the bead to slide slightly back onto this. So I'm going to come in behind the bead there and then take a turn over the top of the bead again, and then I'm now in behind my fake hackle again. So what we do now is I'm just going to force the hackle back on itself so it'll splay out. Then I'll pull it back with my finger here, and then pull this thorax cover over the front of that, tie it in place, couple of turns, and then fold it back and stretch it, and then tie over that again, and that way you'll get a really neat finish on that rather than cutting it off here and having a tag end of it sticking out the front. So now we're just going to finish off our head. Trim off the thread, take what's left of the thorax material and stretch it, let the scissors settle right down into the base of it and just trim it off. And that is the fly done. We just need to varnish the head of it. So I'll just use a clear clear to varnish this, and a double needle. All the way around. There's a fibre there that I don't like, so I'll just pinch it out with sharp tweezers. And that is our fly tied. So that is our Copper Quill Nymph. So hopefully you like what you see. If you did, give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends, check out all the other videos on the channel. Until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.